Morning, everybody. That's not a good background. I'm here at a place. We're going to discuss the title in a second where we are, but Dave is actually filming right behind me, so I got multiple cameras. We're at a historic site in Estero, Florida, which is commonly close to Fort Myers, right? Close to Fort Myers, if you've ever. Fort Myers is where Thomas Edison had a winter home. And we're standing in front of a building. All right, so Dave and I just spent the good part of a half hour discussing what the name of this place is. The ranger said it was Koreshan Koreshan State Historical Park. It's sort of a religious colony. So if I say Koreshan or Koreshan, it's not related to David Koresh, because this place was founded in the 1800s. I'd say the late 1800s, maybe like 1880. I'm sorry I don't have the exact date, but you get the gist. Anyway, at some point, this colony, which was pretty much in the middle of nowhere at the time, because Florida was very young, this colony stopped being a colony and they vacated it sometime in the 1900s. I'm not sure. I can give you those dates later. But anyway, I'm just trying to get past the part of Koreshan and Koreshan. So what you're looking at here is the main building here. They're calling it the Art Hall, and this would be early 1900s, showing that it's just sort of real bare ground. There's a buggy there with some horses and some palm trees, real bare dirt roads. And here's a more a better look at what we're going to see behind here. And apparently this building, they did plays and things. So look at this building then, and then you can see how it looks now right here. Basically typical of like Florida architecture, all wood structure, you know, big windows that you'd open the big windows, and you'd, when it would be hot out, you would open the big windows and stuff. We can't get in, so I can't show you the inside, but some pretty neat looking. I've never really seen supports like this. That's very unusual as far as Florida architecture, but you got to understand something about Florida is hot and there's mosquitoes, and so a lot of these places were built with very large windows. So when you're in those summer nights when it's very hot and humid, you could open up all these windows and try to get some kind of breeze in here, because it would be 90-95 degrees basically. So right now I'm sitting next to US 41, which is a highway, and this building with all the windows closed, I believe, was like a country store. I don't really have the I don't have the dates. This is not going to be a historical information tour. This is just going to be more of a visual tour. So I'm not going to be reciting. I'm trying to look up stuff on Wikipedia, and it's just not working out. Me and Dave are talking too much to come up with a what I'm trying to say is, when I'm by myself I can do that better, but me and Dave are just having too much fun. Anyway, this building is apparently a wood building with stucco over it, and I'm thinking that it was built before the 30s. So despite the fact that it doesn't look that old, it actually isn't old. Did you have something to add? Looks like you wanted to add something.
The second floor was like a dormitory for men.
Yeah, like people slept here.
Provided room for the homeless, and then it said the women slept on the third floor. And it didn't say if they had, homeless women, but
so the men didn't
they took
sleep with
people
the
in.
Yeah, there's some kayakers over there.
The kayaking rental place is right there.
So if you look at this wall, you can see it's an old stone wall. What do you think they got the stones from? From here? Locally? What's your best guess? They had to truck them in, or they got them locally? I don't know. I don't know there's that much information available. Maybe if you bought a book on it, I guess you could get the information. But what I'm going to say is, in Florida, where we live, it's not common to have a lot of rocks available. So you may have had to boat them in from somewhere.
Those are kiln brick.
Those are Dave's saying this is all brick. This little fountain here, which is pretty neat looking. I don't believe I've ever really seen anything like this before, of all the places I've been.
This is like
neat little lion's head here. As I'm gonna state this again, just for the record. This is not gonna be a historically factual tour. It's just gonna be a visual tour, and because I cannot find much on the internet about this place, so we're just gonna look around and enjoy the Florida pioneer spirit. Which this is like actually like more like a pioneer place than it does anything else. Pioneer meaning bare bones, just wood, structure, and a wall, but not much else. Not fancy. So this cabin or pioneer house is not open, but you can see a little bit from the outside here. You got a lantern there, a little table. Dave says that there's a chamber pot in the corner over there, which is where you do your business. It has a heater and some chairs in there. But the lady at the front told us these places were open, but apparently they're not. And the one thing you have to understand about Florida is in the late 1800s, we were not very advanced as far as having modern telephones and electric and paved roads and all that. It was much more like, I would say it would be like the West. What do you think, Dave? Would you say it's
Swampy though.
Swampy, but a swampy Wild West, because everybody had dirt roads, everybody had wagons and horses, and they were farming sugarcane and coffee and
he raised a lot of cattle.
Citrus. Cattle and citrus is what you would live on. So we've discovered a large building with a stone circular wall out here, and I'm sorry that I can't tell you exactly because we forgot to buy the map. there's a map you have to pick up, and for some reason we didn't pick up the map, so we're gonna have to go back and get it. This is a pretty big building though compared to the other ones. You look at this little cabin over here, that cabin, pretty small. This building looks like some kind of big lodge or something.
Park ranger who said,
no, she wasn't a park ranger.
She said, not my job, not my job. I only do
no,
this.
She didn't say that's not.
I don't care if it burns.
That's not what she said. No, we walked up to this building, and the television monitor is making these really crazy like barking noises. So hopefully somebody's gonna come down and fix it so I can go film back in there. Dave has darking dogs on the phone. It sounds like that when you go in there. It sounds like dogs barking. It's like it sounds like a monster has been unleashed in there. I was afraid to go in.
When you're 10 years old, you would pick what kind of job you wanted to do as an adult. So at 10 years old, you would pick what you wanted to be: a teacher, you wanted to go be a farmer, you could be here, as a girl, you could be anything you wanted. You didn't have to just, stick to the regular things that they called as, were socially acceptable for girls to do. So they believe we live on the inside of the earth. To them, nothing exists outside of the earth. If we cut the earth open, this is 100 miles thick, we live on the inside surface. Now we stay stationary, but the sun and the moon, and they believe there were 7 planets, revolve around the inside of the earth. And I can turn that on for you.
This is a model.
Yeah, so this is a model, and this is over 100 years old.
Wow.
This photo down here is Dr. Teed, the founder, with Victoria, who was second in charge, and Eleanor Castle, who was a professor here. And they were traveling with this exhibit to show people their beliefs and try and gather new members. Okay.
But this is sort of a recreation of their tea room, which this is glass, so I can't like walk in there. Looks like there's a microscope right there. Some nice chairs. It looks like there's some bullhorns over there. Kind of the typical turn of the century type of furniture out there. The founder's name was Cyrus. They call him Cyrus Teed, is the guy who founded this place. A really interesting, maybe that's a wardrobe or something, this big piece of furniture here. Really interesting. I have no way of knowing if that's original or not, but really neat view. They have a television that plays a movie over here that tells you about the history of the place, and they've got some displays on things over here. I'm not sure what this is.
As a young physician working in Utica, New York, Dr. Cyrus Reed Teed was always interested in unconventional experiments, often involving dangerously high levels of electricity.
Apparently this place is like a sanctuary for turtles, because Dave spotted this turtle way over here. It's a good size one. If you think turtles are slow, think again, because these guys can really move. I guess when they have a reason to move, they can get along, little doggy. So the really crazy story about sort of how the church started declining was when Cyrus passed away. They thought that he was going to be resurrected, and so they put him in a tomb on an island, and they monitored it to see that he was. They thought he was going to be resurrected. And I'm not sure what island it was on, but the guy in the movie says that eventually a storm came in and swept the crypt out to sea, and they haven't seen him since. Okay, they have a big sign out that says this is the bakery building. Now remember I told you earlier, or I tried to tell you, that this place was a self-sufficient community, like a small town, where they had all these buildings, they had a little farm, they had a bakery, and they had a machine shop, and they had places. So there's this old guy sitting in the doorway right now. It says 1903 here. And unfortunately, you can't really go in very far because it's all glass here. But you can sort of see some stuff in there. You've got some baking apparatus, and you can kind of see all the beams running along the ceiling, which would give you an idea that there's a beam on the ceiling. Some pots and pans. It smells very much like a basement is what it smells like in here. If you've ever been in like a concrete basement, it has that kind of flavor. Sir, you can't go to the bathroom there. There's a big water tank out here on the side. Big wooden water tank.
That's called a cistern.
What do you think they put in there, Dave?
It's a cistern.
It's actually a recreation because you can tell there's a lot of light coming through the board, so somebody probably had built that recently to simulate. It's a simulated cistern. You can also see how this window is really crooked. I can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but compared to this door, which is relatively straight, this window a little crookedy. When houses get old, they start to shift around and they get crooked. I just want to give you a large view of how these, in non-3D, how these buildings look from the outside rather than just walking into the inside. I figured if I walk around in a circle, you can get like a simulated 3D experience. So you look through here, you can see a lot of machine type things. I wonder if it was all electric. I can't really say when electricity came in, but obviously I could Google it, but it looks like a lot of these things were operated by electricity because of all the belts and the things. There's a lot of lizards around here too. Many implements over here. This place is sort of like a little roofed-in building, and the sign says it's the Cast Iron Cafe. I don't know if that's like a joke, or maybe at one time it was like a little cafe, or what it was. You know, you don't see these kinds of stoves very often. Around these parts, a stove like this is very rare to see this cast iron top where it has those little round areas where you can pull off the cast iron and you pull open these doors and throw in a log on that fire, and you got the steam pipe that goes out the back. Pretty neat that they have one of those. I don't think I've ever seen one in person. This building is the power plant building, and the gentleman in there that was giving us sort of a little history was telling us that originally it was a steam powered plant, and then they changed over to a diesel power because, you know, way back in the day, I guess if you had steam, you had to provide a lot of lumber and a lot of wood, and I guess they were eventually you start to run out of wood. I mean, if you don't have a unlimited source of wood, the steam gets expensive after a while, I guess. You can get a good view here of the diesel engine. I'm guessing it's a dual cylinder engine, if that means anything to you. But you see the two cylinders here. And that was what they powered this place with. You don't often get to see a power plant really, because with 9/11 and everything, I don't think they like you poking around those places, I guess is what you could say. This is the smokestack. He said the exhaust actually went through water and then came out of here to get rid of the sparks. Pretty interesting. All right, so this building, very nice, historic looking, cool building, was called the Planetary Court, and according to the film we watched, the gentleman who was the founder preferred to have women managers manage this place. And she said this building is where a man lived, that he watched over the 7 women that stayed here, and when they need to go outside of the community, they would have, the man would go outside and do the business, because at the turn of the century, women just weren't in positions of managerial positions, so they would have a man speak for them. But as far as running the place, it was women that lived right in that house. So as the kind lady was just explaining that this was a custom-made staircase and furniture that's pretty unusual. I mean, if you take a look at it, you don't see many places like this. Plus, it's got this little neat bench that Dave's sitting in here, which kind of is just part of the stairs. It's a little interesting little nook. And I guess the small people sit on this side, and then the less small people will sit on this side. But you can see it's pretty ornate, and it's not something that you would commonly see in a house, especially in this area.
Or you may not even be able to.
Yes, I am. Here. Yes. This is my husband's.
If you look closely, there's a wheelchair, old school wheelchair in the corner over there. And again, the very large windows to let air flow, because it gets very, very hot in this area of Florida. How would you rate your experience at the said historical center?
Well, I thought it was eye-opening in that I didn't understand the society, the level of society.
Me neither.
And the fact that
It's way different.
They had this structure, and women actually had a voice back in the early, 100 years ago.
And the lady just said that the women, children, and men were separated.
Yeah,
into different areas, right?
Yeah. Well, that house over there where the general store is had the second floor was men, and the third floor was women. Now,
Yeah.
we had
Separated.
that. Yeah, we had that in college dormitories even 10 or 15 years ago, and the women would be on one floor, the men would be on the next, and they never ever took the elevator up or down. It was just such an environment.
But this is supposed to be a homestead, and you got this instead of
That's a little weird.
a little odd, on the odd side. But overall, a very good experience if you can learn something about it. It's more than just buildings if you sort of take the time to learn about the uniqueness of this society, I guess. The Koreshan Unity settlement is very much worth it. A lot of stuff to look at. Power plant, machinery, the buildings, the original furniture, all that good stuff.
I was disappointed.
I give it a 4 stars out of 5.
At least.
4 out of 5.
If they'd had a t-shirt shop that had obscene sayings on it, then it would cover that entire
Like if we could have Koreshanisms, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Some Koreshanisms. There you go. We needed some kind of t-shirt shop where we could get 7 women for 1 man or something on the shirt, right? That would have been. It would make it a
saying, let's get down 1 floor. There's 7 women living underneath us. Come on over.
He
must have hosted some interesting poker games.
Well, you know what the lady.
Where do you win?
Listen, what the lady said was, there was 1 man that lived in the top 3rd-story cupola little room that managed the women or took care. Now,
yeah, I heard.
Can you read into that?
Use the word managed.
Can you read into that just a little bit? 7 women, 1 guy living in that place. Is it possible he did more than manage? Possibly. One will never know, truly.
No, because the Earth is empty.
The Earth is hollow, so from, you know, that being said, we'll see you in the next vlog. Have a great week. Anyway, Dave just told me that Carrie Fisher passed away, so I'm really pissed off now. You son of a bitch. I can put that in my blooper reel.